Also, as we speak, here comes Devon Archer. Let's just go over here and see if we can get a word with Devon Archer as he walks into the building. Mr. Archer, what do you intend to tell the committee today? Do you have anything to say? Did you have meetings with the Bidens, and can you elaborate on those?
Did anyone tell you not to appear today, sir?
You just watched Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devon Archer, show up to be interviewed by Republicans in the House Oversight Committee. His interview, which will not be under oath, is part of the GOP's investigation into the Bidens. He's expected to disclose that President Joe Biden was on business calls with his son Hunter. However, over the weekend, MAGA exploded with conspiracy theories following news involving a separate fraud case that Archer is involved in and was convicted for. On Saturday, the US Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York wrote to trial judge Ronnie Abrams and asked her to schedule a date for Archer to report to prison after the Second Circuit Court of Appeals finalized an order days earlier upholding his 1-year sentence. Now, what was he sentenced for? Well, he was sentenced for something entirely different, separate from Hunter Biden, okay? And he should actually serve a sentence for that. A jury in 2018 convicted Archer of 2 felonies for his role in a conspiracy to defraud a Native American tribe, but his 2022 sentence has been repeatedly postponed amid a long-running series of appeals. Now, this letter by the prosecutors comes out on the eve of his interview with the GOP in this Hunter Biden investigation. And so immediately you have conservatives in right-wing media arguing that this is an attempt by the federal government to prevent this guy from being interviewed by GOP lawmakers. Except, as you saw, he showed up to be interviewed by GOP lawmakers. Even though the court wasn't even expected to make a decision and send Archer to prison before his closed-door meeting with the House Oversight Committee today, right-wing media still blew up as if the letter from the federal prosecutors to the trial judge was meant to prevent him from talking to Republican lawmakers, who of course are hell-bent on implicating President Joe Biden in criminal wrongdoing. Again, as you saw in the video at the top of this story, Archer clearly showed up and spoke to investigators today, although it was closed door and we don't know exactly what he said. One of the conservatives losing her mind over the letter was Miranda Devine. In a New York Post column, Devine argues that the DOJ can't sink any lower after attempted jailing of Hunter Biden's ex-partner, Devon Archer, before his testimony. She also appeared on Fox News to talk about it. Let's hear what she had to say.
Explain his relationship to this family and why his level of knowledge is important here.
Devon Archer was Hunter Biden's best friend in business. They met at Yale and they were in business together and friendship together for many years throughout Joe Biden's vice presidency. And they made a fair amount of money together. And then eventually, Devon Archer came unstuck with their last joint venture, which was this company called Burnham, which ended up dissolving into fraud convictions for numerous people involved, other than Hunter Biden, even though Hunter Biden was listed, I think, as vice chairman and earned a couple of $100,000. And Devon Archer lost millions of dollars on the deal. He's the one going to jail. And I think he would feel fairly bitter about that. I know friends around him say that he feels that he's just been abandoned by the Bidens, having been promised by Hunter that he was family.
Okay, so these multiple investigations can get confusing, but I want to make something crystal clear, okay? Remember, Archer has been convicted of a completely separate crime, okay, having nothing to do with Hunter Biden. Devine is making it seem like he's suffering consequences for criminality that Hunter Biden is involved in, and that's just not the case. Anyway, let's get back to the prosecutor's letter and Archer's response to it. So Archer's lawyer, Archer's counsel, said it was premature to set a sentencing date because Archer was considering further appeals and intended to raise an error in the sentencing process. Archer's lawyer plans to file a response to the US attorney's demands by Wednesday, meaning Archer wasn't even planning to respond to prosecutors today. He was planning on responding 2 days from today, after and 2 days after he's interviewed by Republican lawmakers. Look, my point here is he planned to be interviewed by the Republican lawmakers, and today he was interviewed by Republican lawmakers. Like, this obsession among the GOP to prove that the Biden administration is interfering with their investigation is laughable, okay? Because the Trump appointed, investigators into Hunter Biden could have easily been fired by President Joe Biden, but they weren't. He hasn't intervened at all. Even Archer's attorney, Matthew Schwartz, poured cold water on the conspiracy theories, saying in a statement that, quote, "We are aware of speculation that the Department of Justice's weekend request to have Mr. Archer report to prison is an attempt by the Biden administration to intimidate him in advance of his meeting with the House Oversight Committee. To be clear, Mr. Archer does not agree with that speculation. In any case, Mr. Archer will do what he has planned to do all along, which is to show up on Monday and to honestly answer the questions that are put to him by congressional investigators." Republicans view Archer as a key witness in their months-long hunt for a smoking gun in their investigation into the Bidens. Their other key witness, to be fair, ended up being a Chinese agent, so they don't exactly have the best track record on this case. But so far, no evidence has emerged indicating that Joe Biden's decisions as president or even vice president were influenced by his son's business deals. Biden has also repeatedly denied involvement in his family's business agreements. However, Oversight Chair James Comer subpoenaed Archer in June, saying that he played a significant role in the Biden family's business deals abroad, including but not limited to China, Russia, and Ukraine, and that the committee believed he had information relevant to the investigation. Look, I don't really care about the Bidens. I don't care about like providing cover for them if they engaged in any criminality. We'll see what comes out of this interview. But it is amazing how the very party that has downplayed Trump's alleged crimes are now obsessed with this Biden fishing expedition. They would need to prove quid pro quo in their investigation, and that's even more difficult to prove. And while the GOP wastes its time and energy on this investigation, they're doing nothing to pass legislation that improves the lives of their constituents. Look, just like the multi-year, ill-fated Russian collusion investigation that Democrats launched soon after Trump won the 2016 presidential election, Republicans are more interested on investigating their political opponents rather than improving healthcare, addressing the opioid epidemic or mental health care, or responding to the housing crisis. But maybe their constituents will forget about all those issues if the GOP succeeds in doing what they seem to do best, owning the libs. We'll see.
There are a lot of great ways to watch the Young Turks, but is there a best way? Of course, the best way is to watch live. Tune in weekdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. You get our uncensored, unapologetic version of the news that you won't get anywhere else. Watch us live.